Section 4, P-TECH Course 102, General Appraisal. Terms to know. Anticipation. An economic principle that states value is derived from future expected benefits. No.
Yeah, that was right.
I'm not saying that word.
Appertinent.
Ties to the recipient's ownership. Both prescription and necessity easements are also appertinent easements. Assemblage. The purchase of adjacent parcels of land to assemble a larger tract of land. Balance. Economic principle that property will have more value if the surrounding area provides complementary property uses. Change. An economic principle that the market is in a continual state of change. Competition. Substantial profits will attract competition and increase competition. This may lead to ruinous competition. Conformity. An economic principle stating that a property value will rise to its highest possible level if architectural styles are relatively homogeneous and surrounding land uses are compatible with its use. Consistent use. The improvements on the site are the same as the highest and best use of the land. If the use is not consistent, the building is a burden on the land and has no value. Consumptive use. When the probable use is by the purchaser, it may be called consumptive use. This is typical of residential usage, and the market approach is usually the best indicator of value as it directly reflects the actions of the participants in the market. Contribution. An economic principle that an improvement value must be measured by the market, not by the cost. Encumbrance. Any limitation that affects property rights and value. Engross. The right to use a property for a specified purpose, such as utility easement. Increasing and decreasing returns. The four agents of production, land, labor, capital improvements, and management coordination must be in balance for a property to produce optimum returns. Investment use. Properties that are purchased for their income stream, and the income approach is the best indicator of value for this type of property. Necessity easement. When a seller divides land and creates inaccessible parcels. Prescription easement arises when a non-owner openly and continuously uses someone else's property for 10 years or more. Productive use. Productive use properties are purchased for their ability to produce a product and are usually owner-occupied. The cost approach is the best method to appraise these properties. Progression. An economic principle that an inferior property value is increased by the proximity to better properties of the same use class. Regression. An economic principle that a superior property value is decreased by the proximity to inferior properties of the same use class. Riparian right allows the holder access to or use of a body of water. Substitution. An economic principle that no one will pay more for a property than they would for an acceptable substitute. Replacement cost new usually sets the upper limit of cost. Supply and demand, also called elasticity in the market. The mass appraisal model reflects supply and demand in the market. Surplus productivity, income from a property after the four agents of production, land, labor, capital, and management have been paid. This income is attributable to the land. Most effective use, consumptive, right?
No. Approaches to value. Sales are various approach.
Well,
start here.
I know, but we were just reading a list like this.
No, this is a different list.
It's a different list.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. Approaches to value, sales comparison approach, most effective use, consumptive. Strengths, reacts directly to the marketplace based on actual sales of comparable properties, provides defensible value estimates. Weaknesses: requires an active market, does not value land and improvements separately, does not value unique properties. Steps to sales comparison approach: define the appraisal problem, collect and analyze the data, select the appropriate units of comparison, make reasonable adjustments based on market data, apply the data to the subject to arrive at final estimate of value. 3 additional market approach methods: gross rent, income multipliers, land development, stock and debt method. Cost approach: most effective use, productive. Strengths: value land and improvements separately, values unique properties, can adjust for condition and or obsolescence. Weaknesses: requires market or income approach to value land, replacement or reproduction cost new, calculation of depreciation. Steps to the cost approach: estimate the site value as if vacant at the highest and best use. Estimate total cost new for improvements, including direct, indirect, and entrepreneurial profit. Estimate total depreciation for physical depreciation, functional and external obsolescence. Deduct depreciation from cost new of improvements. Estimate total cost new for amenities less depreciation. Add value of the depreciated improvements, depreciated amenities, and site value to arrive at value by the cost approach. Income approach: most effective use is investment use. Strengths: direct relationship between value and income produced. Based on investment strategy for investment property, values special use property such as ag, timber, etc. Weaknesses: property must be capable of producing enough income to attract an investor. Requires financial information such as financing, interest rates, property income, and expenses. Does not value land and improvements separately. Steps to the income approach: estimate potential gross rent, subtract vacancy and collection loss, add secondary or miscellaneous income, subtract allowable operating expenses, select an appropriate capitalization rate, divide the net operating income by capitalization rate for value. Appraisal records: what's in there? Land descriptions: rural land, urban land, measurement, size, topography, location. Improvement description: construction type, construction quality, measurement, area, additives, depreciation, physical, functional, and external. Property records: legal description, lot and block, meets and bounds, rectangular survey. Ownership: fee simple estates, bundle of rights, slugger. The right to sell it, the right to lease it, the right to use it, the right to give it away, the right to enter or leave it, and the right to refuse to exercise any of the above. 4 government powers that restrict ownership: Pete. Police power: escheat, taxation, eminent domain. Leasehold estate: the interest in a property that are associated with the leasee, the tenant, as opposed to the lessor, the property owner. Leased fee estate: the interest in a property that are associated with the lessor, the property owner, when a leasehold interest exists. Note: conditions of ownership can increase or decrease a property's value. End note. Mass appraisal concepts. Accepted appraisal practice is an orderly set of steps that eliminate bias and enable testing. Mass appraisal: the process of valuing a universe of properties as a given date using standard methodology, employing common data, and allowing for statistical testing. First step in mass appraisal is to analyze your market. Accurate appraisal is an appraisal that comes close to 100% of fair market value. Uniform appraisal is an appraisal that does not treat one property or class of properties differently from any others. Ideally, 3 approaches used on every property, not typical in mass appraisal. Building use and value schedules. The three basic types of schedule building: develop property categories, separate sale prices into land and improvement values, adjusting each for time and additives, determine physical values per unit of measure. Keys to using value schedules based on categories, classification, additive or adjustment schedules, depreciation schedules, requires periodical updating. 2 standards that a classification system must meet to be valid. Every property must fit into a class. No property can fit into more than one class. Value schedules require adjusting a particular property for depreciation and unique features. Fundamental to schedules used in mass appraisals are good classification systems. Value schedules show typical value per unit of measure. In building a schedule for use in mass appraisal, you use typical values per unit of measure developed from local market data, calculating ratios. Appraisal to sale ratios, so appraised value divided by sale price equals ratio. So 90,000 divided by 100,000 equals 0.90 or 90%. IAAO standard on ratio accuracy, 0.90 minus 1.10 or...
Probably 90% to 110%. That's what that is, not minus.
So 0.90 to 1.10 or 90% to 110%. Very low ratios, 60%, or very high ratios, 120%, result from poor classification system. Value schedules are based on classifications. Basic calculations in appraisal. Calculating area. The area of a square is base times height, length times width. 10 times 10 equals 100. The area of a rectangle is its base times height, length times width. 5 times 10 is equal to 50. The area of a parallelogram is base times height. 5 times 10 equals 50. Squares and rectangles are parallelograms. The area of a triangle is 1/2 of the base times the height. So
they didn't give a deal there, but 1/2 base, that would be 1/2 times 20, which is 10, times the height would be 100.
No, times 10 would be 100.
Didn't I say that?
No. To find the area of a trapezoid, average the parallel sides and multiply the average times the height. So 10 plus 15 divided by 2, which is equal to, it's 25 divided by 2, divide time. So 10 plus 15 is 25 divided by 2, which is 12.5, times 5, which is 62.5.
That's what it says.
The area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Pi is 3.1416 times 10 is equal to 314.16.
If r was equal to 10.
To find the area of a sector of a circle, divide the angle of the sector by 360 and multiply the result by the area of the total circle. So in this case, they're saying that we're just going to say whatever.
You just read it down there.
To determine the area of half of the circle, divide the above total area by of the circle by 2, multiply by 0.5. So in the above example, 3.1416 times 10 equals 3.1416. Total area times 0.50 equals 157.08. That's the area of half the circle. Which of the following is most likely to be a market value transaction? Joe buys a property shortly after the neighborhood is rezoned commercial. Are you going to hold it?
What do you want me to do with it? Just a minute.
Can I not? Can't touch it? You don't?
No, can you reach it?
Yes, I can reach it. In a declining neighborhood, a condominium with development replaces a block of owner-occupied houses. Which of the following is the most probable result? Land values will increase. Mark purchased a house and lot for $150,000. He paid $15,000 to renovate the kitchen and another $12,000 for paint and small repairs. After repairs, the house sold for $200,000. What economic principle explains the difference between the cost of repairs and the increase in the sale price? Contribution. Which of the following best explains the bundle of rights? Total ownership of property consists of owning a number of distinct and separable rights. The general term for a restriction on the buyer's rights that is built into a deed is encumbrance. What should a property owner file to report the condition and value of their home to the appraisal district? A rendition. Depreciation refers to an improvement's loss of value from all causes. The income approach would produce the most accurate appraisal of which of the following properties? A strip center near a residential neighborhood. The product approach would have produced the most accurate...
The product approach?
The product approach. I don't know. The market approach would produce the most accurate appraisal of which of the following? A vacant lot on the outskirts of a growing city. I had already read ahead and I was on produce, and that's the way my brain works. Sorry. The cost approach would produce the most accurate appraisal of which of the following? A small oil refinery. What is this?
You have to see it, the box. So just, skip that. Oh, that's it.